Welcome to the very first holiday season of The Story. Season 5 features 8 stories of trailblazers paired with the beginnings of some of the most famous winter holidays ever. Season 5 of The Story is brought to you exclusively by Salesforce, the world's #1 customer relationship management platform. More than 150,000 businesses are using Salesforce to blaze their own trails to success. The Story is created by our team at Mission.org, a media company and podcast network. Enjoy.
Welcome back to another after show. This is after show 2 of season 5 of the illustrious, the always wonderful Story podcast. And the story, as you know, was about the holiday season. Steph, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I'm so excited and I was smiling. I've been loving the holiday seasons and they were really fun to review. And
you love the holiday time.
You know I do. I was just going to say I was about to break open my, really strong evergreen candle. That's why I was laughing in my head because I know how much you really don't like how strong it is.
It's a bit over the top. I love natural scents, but the evergreen in that just feels a little unnatural. It feels more like borderline floor cleaner. So
you made me put it outside. So sad. All right. So what episodes are we talking about today?
The 2 episodes we're going to talk about and basically what they inspired are The Matter of Time and What About the Rest of Us, which was one of my favorite episodes. So let's jump into the first one. And the first episode was about New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And this took me back to 1999. So if the Prince song isn't playing in your head, I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray. But when I woke up this morning, I could have sworn it was Judgment Day.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, his lyrics are, if you go back and read them, they're awe-inspiring. Those are the type of lyrics that don't get old with time. And taking it back to 1999, do you remember when everybody was paranoid about the 2000, the dot-com crisis?
My computer clock won't switch over. Ah!
Yeah.
Yep.
And that lead up and build up to the new year kind of happens every year. Anxiety builds up. It's a good metaphor for life. Anxiety builds up and we think that, we're going somewhere and that the holidays have to be perfect. And then the holidays start and it gets really stressful. And in the build up and the lead up time, people are trying to wrap up things with work, get everything perfect for the family. There are a ton of expectations and it gets overwhelming. Anxiety is a natural byproduct. Worry starts. Sometimes that can go all the way into fear and generally it can be a really unpleasant time. A lot of people don't want to talk about that, but it is. And so this is a thought experiment to kind of challenge and then leave all of that anxiety and all of that worry behind. Because just like the dot-com boom or, the crisis, the bust, the fear mongering that everybody was doing, how much of that really came to pass? Life is, you can choose anxiety, you can choose a great mindset, a positive mindset, but ultimately a lot of the things that you worry about never happen.
And we don't go back and hold people accountable too. So everyone who was causing that fear back in the day and saying, this is going to crash, that's going to crash, like so many bad things are going to happen. Some of those people are still talking today. And I just want to be like, remember what you said in 2000? Like you said everything wrong. Why are people listening to you now with your newest fear tactic?
In a weird way, I think that karma is deep linking. And now a lot of those media properties and companies are, as they continue to slide into irrelevance, and it's painfully obvious that these people, not only have they not had skin in the game or any type of consequences for their horrible predictions, but on top of that, they've been reaping all kinds of crazy benefits for making horrible predictions and ginning up fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's really, really sad if you think about it. Like, what type of life is that going to be when you're 80 years old? And maybe those people will grow into wisdom. Maybe they will find wisdom. But what type of life is that? Are they going to look back and say, wow, for the last X amount of years, I really made sure that everybody was worried about things that they didn't have to be worried about? And I don't think that's going to be a fulfilling way to do things. But
so if you're not that type of person who actually enjoys maybe instilling anxiety and also feeling anxious yourself, if you want to rid yourself of that this holiday season, what is this mind experiment that we can all try?
Yeah, it's basically just reflecting on this quote. This is one of my favorite sections of a speech by a pioneer, an explorer, and a traveler. So let me preface this quote with saying, this is at a conference and the person that delivers the quote gets a question, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, this is horrible. There's so much fear mongering going on. What are we going to do? I'm overwhelmed. And he says this: what we want to do is de-emphasize anxiety and reassure people. You're going to meet people who say, I'm really scared. I'm scared about my job. I'm scared about this. I'm scared about that. I'm scared, scared, scared. The answer is don't worry. You don't know enough to worry. That's God's truth. And he uses God in a very broad sense here. Who do you think you are that you should worry, for crying out loud? I mean, it's a total waste of time. It presupposes such a knowledge of the situation that worry is in fact a form of hubris. No, what you do is just pay your bills and, pack heat if you have to, but don't worry. That's all. Worry is like praying to the devil. Worry is betting against yourself. Weipo Yang, a great Chinese Taoist who wrote many, many commentaries on the I Ching, he was asked at the end of his life, what was his conclusion? What was the conclusion of his life of studying the I Ching, meditating, and all of that? And he said, worry is preposterous. That is it. So when you do worry, it basically presupposes that you have a godlike knowledge and omnipresence of the situation. It supposes that you can see not just what's going to happen now, but what's going to happen in the future. And we just discussed the fact that so much of what we worry about doesn't come to pass. If you know that, then why would you worry? In a way, it's not only just a form of hubris, it's almost a form of egomania, where you think that you've not only figured it all out, but you figured out what's going to happen with everyone else around you. So for me, that's just been so powerful to reflect on.
I love that. And who was that quote by?
Terrence McKenna.
I knew it. I was like, man, this sounds really familiar. Well, that's a good one, though. I really like that. Cool.
But now, what about the rest of us?
Oh my gosh.
A Festivus.
Remember when you asked me about
for the rest of us
when we first met and I didn't know what it was?
So if you haven't watched the Seinfeld episode about Festivus, I encourage everyone to grab a free trial to Hulu, do whatever you have to do, and watch The Strike, which is, I believe, in season 9 of Seinfeld, for one of the most masterful holiday episodes of all time.
We'll have to rewatch it just to meet your expectations.
Festivus is a great example of a personal, family, kind of like a local holiday tradition that is not just a fun thing that makes us laugh, but if you dig into the origins of Festivus, they're really inspiring. So we touched on some of the more comedic aspects of Festivus and how they came about, but if you go back and study the origins a bit more, yeah, it's a really sweet thing about why the husband started it. Essentially, he started it for his wife, and then after his wife passed away, the family, that's where the slogan, A Festivus for the Rest of Us, came about, because she was no longer with them. So for all its quirks and for how funny it is, it's a great reminder that, again, at the end of the day, life isn't promised, and we're going to lose people along the way, and traditions are all that we have to hold us together. And I think what was so fascinating about this tradition is that as the young writer was going through it, he felt embarrassed at the time, and then during the set and during the writing of it, he still felt embarrassed. Like he didn't really want to put it out there. Like he didn't want to expose it to laughter and critique and criticism. But at the end of the day, that's one more reason why it's now living in infamy. It's one more reason why it's practiced all around the world, is because he didn't let fear, he didn't let anxiety, and he didn't let worry stop him from popularizing it and spreading it around the world. So that is our final message. Leave anxiety and worry behind. They are preposterous
and not needed. Have fun, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again to Salesforce for sponsoring this season of The Story. The Story is created by The Mission, your #1 source for accelerated learning. We send out a daily newsletter, operate a network of podcasts and shows, and our brand studio creates sponsorships that drive results for world-class companies like Salesforce. Subscribe and learn more at mission.org.